I'm Andy the Palm Springs linguist on a road trip to Devil's Tower, Wyoming, where the final scene from Close Encounters of the Third Kind was filmed, to answer the question, which Earthling language should an alien learn? In the final scene, aliens from outer space landed on Devil's Tower, and Earthling humans finally had their close encounter of the third kind, seeing the aliens firsthand. In the movie, Earthlings tried to communicate to the aliens through music. While music may be a practical solution for communication, it is limited. As a linguist and as an Earthling, my question is, what Earthling language should an alien learn? To prepare for contact, we will ground the discussion with the following considerations. What language is likely to be spoken where the aliens land? How easily could aliens interpret utterances from the language? How many Earthlings could aliens communicate with using the language? How easily could an alien learn to speak, read, and write the language? To narrow the scope of this question, we're going to assume these aliens have a mouth to talk with and limbs to sign with. How many? We won't know until we meet them. Beyond that, the sky's the limit. Understanding a language is a complex endeavor. Since words come flying at you like a meteor shower, it can be difficult to process them fast enough to make meaning. Oral language is fleeting. Once a sentence has been spoken, it goes into the black hole forever, whether you had time to figure it out or not. Sometimes, as a beginner of a language, what you really need is for the earth to stand still. Written language, on the other hand, remains on the page, giving the alien more time to make meaning of it. So perhaps the best Earthling language for aliens to learn is a language whose writing system is the most intuitive. That language is Korean. Even though the Korean writing system may appear to be as complex as Chinese or Japanese, the Korean writing system has straightforward sound-symbol relationships, much more consistent and predictable than English. Korean may very well be the most intuitive writing system on our planet. The formation of the consonant letters mimic the shape of your mouth while making that sound. Instead of using the arbitrary letter N for the N sound, the Korean letter mimics how your mouth makes the N sound. Think of the Korean letter as a drawing of the tip of your tongue touching the roof of your mouth while making the N sound. Here's another example. The Korean letter for the G sound is a drawing of the back of your tongue touching the roof of your mouth, which is exactly what your mouth does when you make this sound. It's no wonder Koreans have such a high literacy rate. Aliens would be over the moon to learn such an intuitive language. Is there an Earthling language that is even more intuitive than the Korean writing system? While Korean may be relatively simple for an alien to match the written symbols to speech sounds, they would still have the problem of creating meaning out of those speech sounds. Perhaps it would be easier for aliens to understand sign language. However, there are many signs that are quite abstract and just as arbitrary as speech. It might still be incredibly difficult for aliens to create meaning out of the signs, and the question that would still shine over the aliens is, which sign language should they learn? There are several across the planet, and they are not mutually intelligible. Not to take the oxygen out of sign language as an option, but perhaps the effort to learn a language would be better spent on a language with as many users as stars in the sky. One aspect that aliens should consider is geographic location. Where are the aliens going to land on Earth? If the aliens know the coordinates where they will land, then they could pick the language of that area to learn. However, if they do not have control over where they land, or they simply don't know, then perhaps they should look at geographic space. The largest country on Earth is Russia, so perhaps aliens should learn Russian, since their probability of landing on that country is greater than other coordinates. However, even though the Russian language covers a large geographic space, there are several languages with more life forms speaking it, so perhaps there are better choices. Spanish has the second greatest number of native speakers on the planet after Mandarin, and Spanish has a consistent sound-symbol relationship, which will make it easier for the aliens to learn to decode the written language. Spanish seems to have everything under the sun that aliens might want in an Earth language. The only language in Earth's atmosphere with more native speakers that eclipses Spanish is Mandarin. Perhaps Mandarin would be the best choice for aliens to learn. Mandarin's writing system is not alphabetic, but rather logographic. What this means is that you cannot sound out words in Mandarin. Unlike Korean, Spanish, or English, Mandarin does not have a sound-symbol relationship in its written language. Think of Chinese characters as symbols of meaning or drawings. Of course, the drawings can often be rather abstract, but they still may be easier for aliens to derive meaning from than an arbitrary grouping of sounds. Notice we have been discussing Mandarin, not Chinese. There are multiple Chinese languages beyond Mandarin, such as Cantonese and Hmong. Even though these languages are not mutually intelligible on an oral level, they do share a writing system. Although a monolingual Mandarin speaker and a monolingual Cantonese speaker can't understand each other when they speak, if they write to each other, they likely will get the gist of what the other is trying to communicate. This means that if aliens learn to read and write in Mandarin, not only would they be able to speak with the largest population of native speakers on the planet, but they would also be able to communicate in writing with tens of millions of other Earthlings. While Mandarin may have the greatest number of native speakers, if you count Earthlings who speak a language as a second language, then English eclipses Mandarin. English has the greatest number of speakers under the sun. Perhaps this is the language aliens would want to learn. Also, English is spoken throughout much of the planet, so the chances are good that the aliens would land on coordinates where someone would at least speak some English. The problem with English for aliens may be its writing system. While languages such as Korean and Spanish have a transparent writing system, meaning that the letters have consistent sound-symbol correspondence, English has an opaque writing system, meaning that there is a relationship between the sounds and the letters, but quite often that relationship is difficult to see. English has 44 phonemes, also known as sounds, but only has 26 letters. And when it borrows words from other languages, English retains the spelling from its original language. All this means aliens would have to contend with irregularities such as the letters OUGH. Imagine being an alien trying to make sense of through, though, rough, drought, thought. Aliens may encounter such irregularities and simply abandon ship. English has so many irregularities, as do all other natural Earth languages. Perhaps aliens would prefer a language that isn't rocket science. One that doesn't have any exceptions. One that is 100% consistent in its grammar. No natural Earthling language meets this criteria. However, there are languages that didn't develop organically, but rather were constructed like a space station, with every detail planned out, the most famous being Esperanto. Esperanto is a language that was designed to be 100% regular, as consistent as the Earth orbiting the Sun. Every noun ends in an O, and every adjective ends in an A. Add a J to make them plural, add an N to make them an object rather than a subject. Verbs have similar consistent endings. In fact, what makes Esperanto special is its simplicity. There are no exceptions to these rules ever. Aliens would have a blast learning Esperanto. Problem solved, right? Well, the number of speakers is as minuscule as a pebble in a meteor shower in comparison to natural languages such as English, Spanish, or Mandarin. Perhaps there is no current Earthling language that would be a good choice for aliens to learn. Maybe a better strategy is for the aliens and us humans to construct a new language together. Both Earthlings and the aliens can contribute some vocabulary and some grammar, and voila, a new language. Together, we create an Earthling alien pidgin, a new language that we all have ownership of. Perhaps we're reaching for the stars with this one. But Earthlings have done this many times. Whenever you have a group of people who must communicate with each other, yet they do not share a common language, each language group contributes to forming a new language together. These languages are called pidgins. An example in the Earth's atmosphere is the pidgin that led to Haitian Creole. When French settlers and enslaved Africans had no common language, They created a pidgin using elements from French and elements from each of the African languages that were spoken in the area that is now known as Haiti. Theoretically, a pidgin can be built neutrally. That is, unless there is a power struggle between those who create the language. Do you want to get into a power struggle with aliens? Perhaps we're asking the wrong question. I think I have a more practical solution. Instead of asking which Earthling language should an alien learn, perhaps us Earthlings should be the ones to learn their language. But do the aliens all speak the same language? Like the planets in the solar system, I could keep going round and round giving my opinion, but what is your opinion? Which Earthling language do you think an alien should learn? Put your answer in the comment section below. If you like this episode, then you'll love my YouTube channel, Palm Springs Linguist. Discover language you were never taught in school, and subscribe to my channel right now so that you don't miss any upcoming episodes. I'm Andy the Palm Springs Linguist. Devil's Tower has been out of this world, but it's time to head back to the California desert so I can be off to the pool.